Hi, guys. Welcome to Founder Bounty. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you enjoy this video. Today we have Andreas from Instagrid. Andreas, welcome to the show. Really pleasure to have you. Been looking forward to this one for a while.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You've obviously done absolutely amazing. Closed your Series B. What is it? 45 million dollars. So absolutely congrats. Really amazing. There's a lot of founders out there that are going to really enjoy this episode and to hear how you guys came to where you are and where you're going. So what I wanted to do is start off quickly and ask the question. What do you think makes a good entrepreneur? Right.
I think there are two angles to that I would stress. The first one is really somebody capable taking bold decisions. So even if a day after your assumptions change and you revise your decision, if you don't do decisions, that means you're standing still.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Mm-hmm.
will be the
Mm-hmm.
first one. The second one is really entrepreneurs look at what they have. So if you're, and I can compare that from a large corporation where I've worked before, you often say, okay, what do I need? So what team do I need to accomplish something? And as an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur, you're forced to look at what team do I have and how far do I get? And that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the major differences that I encountered.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's absolutely. I agree with you. I think that the team part of it is so essential and the glue. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you came to meet your co-founder and how was that relationship. When you before you started and how it's going now, because that's something that's interesting as well.
Sure. So we both started at the same time at a large German corporation after finishing our PhD, and we both kind of shared the same desire. So we were really in academia. Both of us thought about being a professor one day, and then we both were intrigued by really giving products into people's hands. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, if you stay in academia, you're working on the products that are 10, 20 years to come, and we both wanted to be more on the interface, so really where you hand over products, and that's where
Mm-hmm.
we wanted to learn, and that's why we joined a management talent program at the same time. And we didn't know each other before, so we met first day because we shared the same mentor. And then we lost sight for 3 years, just meeting for a coffee when we were both somewhere in the headquarters. And so Sebastian went his way to Silicon Valley. I went my way to Singapore, and we did a lot of battery related things. And both of us also joined medical technology at some point. And then for the last 3 years, we basically spent time really on a daily basis, working back to back, leading a department at a large tool corporation within the corporate, where we were basically leading the DC drivetrain development, which means anything that is cordless, so it has a battery and a
Right.
drivetrain with this.
Right, right. The battery as a service. So tell us a little bit about Instagrid. What your company does. Where it's going, how you came to where you are. Because obviously, I also have experience on the fuel as a service side of things. So it'd be battery service was always really interesting. It was always a growing space. It's obviously exploded. Post Corona. So right space, right time. Yeah, tell us a little bit about the company as well and where you've come.
Yeah, I think we can touch that as a service a little later, because before you have the service, you need to found the company, you need to
Okay,
develop the product,
absolutely,
and I
yeah.
think right now is yeah, everything as a service, and
Hmm.
also batteries can be a good service, but we had to figure out that at the beginning there's a large audience as well that would just buy the product, and
Hmm.
then later on you have to spread. But I'll touch on that later. So yeah, we started off by looking into the batteries that we were building. Their market standard is 18 volts, and they are quite small. And for any handheld device, they're perfect. Yeah. But at the same time, we saw that for the 2 billion people in the world that work in a mobile fashion, that many of them look into higher demand, so really grid-like electricity, and that they more look into semi-stationary applications. So they're
Hmm.
not really looking into a handheld device, but they're looking into something that's paired, maybe a vacuum cleaner with a tool or something like this, or a whole audio setup, for example, with light and everything. And these larger demanding tools and applications, they don't have battery solutions at this time, and often they're only sold in quantities that don't allow for a proprietary interface. So at the tool corporations, what people usually do, they make a proprietary interface. And if you look into the vans of the craftsman today, you have them in red, blue, or green.
Hmm.
You no longer have them in rainbow colors, because you can go to that company, buy that perfect angle grinder, to that company, buy that perfect hammer, because there is an ecosystem around these batteries. Yeah, and we thought,
Hmm.
for the long tail of the larger demanding products, they all share a universal interface, which is a standard socket, because they require mains power. And at the same time, we knew that, if you know the laws of physics, then you know that with 18 volts, if you want to achieve 3.6 kilowatts, which is the nominal power, constant power of a mains outlet in Europe, then you're left with 200 amps on the 18 volts, and losses go square. And that's why we knew this would be a quite difficult case to achieve if you were not able to change the laws of physics. And so we thought about having more something like a portable socket. Yeah. And of course, before you resign from a very well paid job, you look first into what is the market offering and what is the standard solution. And it turned out, for these people that work in mobile fashion, for them, the go-to solution in the end is a generator. Yeah. So whenever they are off grid, they have to provide energy to their applications. They're hauling an energy a generator from their back,
Hmm.
taking three
Hmm.
or four people. Then these generators, they usually, if their nameplate is 5 kilowatts, they don't power 5 kilowatts, so they can't power them continuously, but they're missing the peak powers. So you
Hmm.
cannot start the machinery. So you have to oversize them. They're uncomfortable, inconvenient, and at the same time, they're the most expensive way of generating mobile electricity because
Hmm.
they're idling. They're often not operated in the best fields that a motor should be operated in. And when we looked into emissions, and this was a little later, so at the beginning we started like selling customers efficiency. So get more productive, do more jobs per day, and earn more money, yeah, or have more free time, whatever you choose, yeah. And then I think 9 months after, in the fall of 2018, Greta and the Fridays for Future movement started, and all of a sudden we saw that there was also a demand for clean electricity. Yeah. And looking into
Hmm.
this,
Hmm.
there was a dogma for the last century that stationary electricity is provided by the grid and mobile electricity is provided by combustion based technology. And this is where we thought, we need to change that as well, because looking into this technology and comparing it to the very rarely regulated generators
Hmm.
in small sizes, you can see that such a generator emits as much CO2 as a Euro 6 passenger vehicle. And at the same time, if you're looking into health and into urban air quality, which is a big topic, then you see that if you look at particulate matter, if you look at NOx or CO, the generator is emitting 10 to 100 times the 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 substances of a Euro 6 passenger vehicle.
Hmm.
And so that's
Hmm.
basically where we started. And of course, we go with what Reid Hoffman, he's one of the co-founders of LinkedIn, once
Hmm.
said:
Hmm.
if you're not embarrassed for your first product, you've been into the market too late. And
Hmm.
so really, I still remember the times when we were just sitting there prototyping something on the 3D printer. I went down into the basement and just made this the right weight with putting stones and sand from the sandbox of my children in. And then next day going to a customer, telling him, look, this is the looks and feel prototype. So tell me what you think in terms of ergonomy, in terms of size. And out of that, we then built the first Works like prototype, which is a wooden box, which we still have here in the Hall of Fame or Shame, whatever you want to call it. Um, and this is where we started, I think, 2 or 3 months after founding that company, really touring Europe and talking to customers and making sure we get traction before we have built a product where people say, okay, I wanted it a different way.
Yeah. No, it's an absolutely amazing solution to a huge problem. There's a lot of people, I guess, interested in solving this problem, and you can just see the use case of this solution. As you said, from construction workers on the road, they're looking for an electrical solution, to many other use cases. So I can understand why investors are so interested in the space, and of course, post Corona, we've seen sustainability and this topic kind of explode as well. But going through your journey from your kind of humble beginnings, talking at concentrating more I guess, from a founder's perspective, you know, that journey, how hard was that journey from, getting investors interested, building that prototype, like you've just said, to getting to your Series B? What do you think, when you chose your investors, let's say, as well, who believed in you, who believed in the product, your co-founder, you mentioned that as well, the team that was so important and so vital to the growth of the company, because when there are hard times, you need a solid team. And there are hard times no matter, what company you're building, right? You
Of
need your
course.
team to stick together. And so, tell us a little bit about, your experience going through that.
Yeah, so I mean, finding the co-founder was quite easy because Sebastian and myself, we were working back to back, and we
Hmm.
are entrepreneurs at heart. So it was not the first time that each of us was thinking about founding his own company. But usually, so we already did that. So I remember my first time after graduating, basically from university, thinking about a solution and founding a company. And then I joined the PhD program because I didn't have the right co-founder. And then after the PhD, I thought about that again, but there was also not the right co-founder. So you always have
Hmm.
to have both product and co-founder. And it was spot on with Sebastian. We knew each other for 3 years, working back to back every day. So
Hmm.
we know the good things, the bad things about each other, how everyone would react. And of course, it's still different if you found your own company because you're looking into no longer into corporate world politics problems, for
Of
example, but
course.
you're
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
looking into, yeah, having your skin in the game. Yeah, so really having
Hmm.
your skin on
Hmm.
the asphalt and grinding it off if it goes wrong. Um, but nevertheless, I think we both have the same appetite for risk. And so I still remember when when I told my wife that I'm going to resign from the corporate, she was basically asking me like, "Hey, what's the worst that could happen?" And I told her like, "Well, in 2 years from now, I've burned all of our cash, and I'm going back as a head of department to one of the corporates." And she was like, "Okay, then start, just do it." Yeah. And yeah, I think that was quite easy to start that. And of course, I think the learning curve in the corporate was really steep at the beginning and then narrowed at some
Hmm.
point. And now my learning curve in the last 4 years is like this. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's not only technology, it's so much more. It's sales, it's finance, it's all of the different things that you have to do. So you have to look at a company 360. And that was something where Sebastian and I, of course, had a lot to learn. But we were interested in all of that, and we wanted to do that. So that was quite fun. And then yeah, remembering what we, of course, you read all of the venture books that are out there, like Venture Deals, and then you realize that having a tech team around you is not the core thing. So as a tech minded founder, you would usually hire a tech team around you, many people that
Hmm.
look alike
Hmm.
and that think alike. And we did the opposite. So we're looking at what are we missing. Yeah, so we hired
Hmm.
someone in
Hmm.
sales and marketing first. We hired a project manager first, and we hired a designer. So these were all
Hmm.
complementary skills
Attributes.
that we
Yeah.
did not have or that we did not like to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I basically from there on, we knew that we have to have traction because what usually investors look for is product market fit. So
Hmm.
very early, if you just go there and tell them this is the perfect product and everyone's gonna buy that, they would usually ask like, okay, let me talk to a customer. And of
Hmm.
course, we knew that already, and of course, we only started looking for investors when we basically had a first customer that already paid a lot of money to get the first prototype. So really having that traction that made life much easier. And then of course, the corporations that we were talking to at that point, some of them obviously tried to build a similar product and weren't able to. And then of course, some of them already asked like, hey, would we just do an M&A at the very beginning? And then you stand there and you think about that and think about, yeah, well, did I go out of the corporate to join a corporate again? And
Yeah.
after 2 or 3 months, and then of course you ask yourself, so if they're offering you that amount of millions for the company now after 3 months, so wouldn't they be paying 100 million after 2 years or something like this? Yeah, and we took that bet, and so far, yeah, we have to say it's looking very promising for that.
Well,
And
yeah,
yeah,
no, that's a really interesting thing to have already an offer at such an early stage. I mean, that clearly is validation to you as a company. Um, Touching on that point, just going back a little bit, and talking about, you mentioned product market fit, what people are looking for. The team itself is so vital, to build the company. But you also mentioned, as a founder at an early stage, your company, you're pretty much doing everything, right? And you said you found complementary people that complemented your technical
Correct.
attributes. But then, let's say post Series A, post Series B, you've built a proper company where you have to delegate a lot of that work, right? So it's a different types of attributes, right? So would you say
Certainly.
that an early stage company is very different to a scaling stage company, right? It's a
Certainly.
different, yeah.
Yeah, certainly. So at the beginning, you hire more for general people, so people with
Hmm.
general skills that can do a variety of things, and that
Yeah.
usually say, "Okay, I've never done that before. Let's go, just start it." Yeah. So you have to trust them that they are the
Hmm.
right ones to structure something, to analyze something, to start somewhere new from scratch, and more generalist, as said. If you're basically pivoting every day around in what you're doing, and yeah, so latest after Series A, you think about having people that bring something to the table already, so that
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
not only learning fast, but that already share or bring experience that is not existing in the team. So
Yeah.
really raise that bar of the company. And after Series B, this is the only thing. So right now we are not looking into hiring generalists, but we really have figured out so what is needed to make this a full company.
Right.
And so now we are specifically looking for these people that bring a vast amount of experience. So like Sebastian and myself, we did that, the exact thing that we now do, we did that before, and we learned it in a corporation, and we are
Hmm.
incredibly grateful for that. And
Hmm.
now we need these people that have done things already, in order to minimize risk, right? That they just can repeat that with us again. And of course, from a competency profile, you still need people that are okay with starting somewhere where it's uncertain and where there is a blank sheet of paper, because this is what it is. We don't bring 150 years of heritage with us, which we consider an advantage, because often you can pick your tools and your tool chain yourself. If you have 150 years of heritage, things have grown, and you cannot just go back to the
Yeah.
base and
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
scratch, right?
No, I absolutely, totally agree with that. So coming back to the point, I mean, rejecting, an acquisition offer so early on now, that is impressive. You clearly believed in the company enough to say, no, I'm going to continue building this out. A lot of that's, you must have really believed in it. I mean, what helped you make that decision? Going from there.
I think a lot of courage, and not being, yeah, maybe not thinking too much about it, actually. Yeah, of course. I think as a startup founder, and you probably can relate to that, is you're always so close to the fuck up night. Yeah, so really
Yeah, yeah,
an
on the
instant
edge.
something goes wrong, you're at the fuck up night. So if that wouldn't have
Yeah, yeah.
departed, then we would have said, okay, we could have sold it for millions after a couple of months, and we would have had a nice job and could have developed it. And but I think, yeah, really taking bold decisions is something you have to have that gene in you as a founder. Otherwise,
Hmm.
it will not work.
No, absolutely. I think you're right, because so many things can go wrong, right, Andreas? And I think
Yeah,
we both know that as an early stage company, your cash can run out. Something, clients, customers, internal issues. So many things can go wrong. So I have to say, saying no. Is extremely impressive, and continually, trying to build out the company. So that's impressive in itself, and clearly you've made the right decision. Companies still growing, and I mean, tell us a little bit about the industry and where you see the industry going, and for you guys as a company, where you see this going.
yeah. So what we see today is much more than the construction industry where we started. So it's
Hmm.
it's really a lot of different industries that rely on mobile energy provision.
Hmm.
Be it someone that opens up an event site. Yeah, we've had people asking us like, hey, we have an Ed Sheeran concert on an abandoned military base in Finland, and we want to power that. and we don't want to lay cables everywhere and the cable bridges, because this is a lot of money that goes into that and a lot of effort. But we would like to, with every cash system, with every toilet, with every security gate, we would like to hook that up to mobile power, because we don't have the cables where 80,000 people can stumble upon, and that they ruin, and we have to clean them afterwards and everything. We asked them
Hmm.
like, hey, how many do you need? And they said, well, 1,200 for the one weekend. And so there are things that we didn't even think about when we started that, and now seeing this universal interface brings you more and more applications. And of course, some of them are niche applications. So we just had a guy calling that X-rays horses, and now he can X-ray the horses in the field, and don't have to
Wow,
bring
really?
the herd horses back into the stable, which is crazy. We have never thought about this application while we designed the product, right?
Well, that's what I hear from a lot of founders is that the longer they build their company, their clients actually give them use cases that they never thought about. That seems to be a very big attribute while building a company. So I think that goes across the board to whatever company you're building is that you will find use cases for your company that you will never have thought of. And it's a very, very common thing. And just like you're saying, I mean, scanning horses on the field, right? That is extremely interesting use case for for the product. So I think that that's something that's common across all small sales companies. But yeah, going back
Exactly.
to the industry, I mean, tell us where do you think where do you think it's heading?
Yeah. So now, taking the construction field, what we see there, and this really changed a lot. So people were always striving for productivity. So increase productivity, stand out from competition, do things better than others, and able to be sure to win tenders, to close deals. And this is where we were helping at the beginning, and now we are looking into this from all kinds of different angles. So if you're based in California, or if you have been to California lately, so the regulations there are quite harsh, not only in emissions but also in health and safety. So they have come up with the cordless job site, for example. So in the future, if they're building skyscrapers, there must be no cords where people can trip over, where they can have like electric hazards
Hmm.
and things like
Hmm.
that. So this is, so from a regulation point of view, not only looking into productivity, which is a no-brainer. There's health and safety.
Of course, yeah,
There's
yeah, yeah.
all the entire urban air quality thing, that we are looking into in our EU Life project. And of course, there's the general need for sustainable energy. And if you look into cities like Amsterdam, Rotterdam, they already have their green procurement policies in place. So meaning that they do fairs where they exhibit, or where they give us the chance, us and other sustainable companies, to exhibit our technology, because they're telling their people, or that their construction companies that want to win tender, like, look, if you want to win tenders, if you want to have the check mark in sustainability, you have to think about how you do your work. You have to really think
Hmm.
about zero emission construction site. And I've just been on a construction site in December, in Amsterdam, where KWS is doing new homings in the East District. And these houses, they're built fully by sustainable energy. So this is a zero emission construction site. Yeah, there's no emission at the point of use. They have electric excavators, they have electric uh, um, machines for everything, and they are powering their tools with the Instagrid. And it was really cool to see that no fumes, no odors, no noise.
Hmm.
If the tools were running, of course you have noise, but as soon as they stop, you usually have the same noise level continuously because of the idling of the generator, and that just stopped. Yeah. And these people, they're so used to that energy, and to how they work there, that if they would fire up a generator there, that people would actually come down and yell at them and make them stop. And so the future is electric, and we have seen that. And I think this was also an insight that Sebastian and myself had when we started that company. um, I think in 2011, Mark Andreessen said software eating the world. And you could also say the same about batteries. So battery eats world.
Hmm.
Whenever there is something that you can electrify, it is electrified. So my former company did a huge job in starting this e-bike business. So having the first drivetrain of an e-bike, by the time where people would tell you that e-bikes is for postmen and for elderly people, and it's a very niche market. And today, everyone knows what e-bike means. Or if you look at Dyson, so Dyson won the bet of selling high value and high cost vacuum cleaners that are cordless to people that formerly used to buy their vacuum cleaners as a discounter, because he started a movement. And now they're purchasing Dyson vacuum cleaners for 600 euros instead of the discounter 70 euros vacuum cleaner,
Hmm.
because there is no cord. And this is also part of a freedom, but it's more convenience, and we are not really looking into convenience. So as a professional user, you want to have peace of mind. Of course, you don't want to lose time in a job. So whenever you get somewhere, sometimes you have electricity, then everything is fine. If you don't have electricity, your day is ruined. So
Hmm.
even if you don't need the Instagrid portable power supply, you're safe. So in your head, it feels safe. You can really focus on your core competency, and you don't have to worry about electricity supply, because whenever you get there, you see there's no electricity or the electricity distribution is locked. You just go grab your Instagrid in one hand, grab your tool into the other hand, and go get your
Hmm.
job done.
Hmm. Hmm. Very interesting. I mean, talking a little bit more about, the industry as a whole and the technical development of batteries and the materials used. I mean, where do you think we can go, right? 10 years from now, how quickly can we recharge our products? Where is the space going? I think that's where do you see it going?
I think people have been mistaken over decades and have been proved wrong. So I might be proved wrong here in the end as well. But so what we have seen during the last decade is that cell prices dropped by 90%. Energy density increased by 300%. Power density even increased by 400%. We
Mm-hmm.
are, of course, approaching theoretical limits when it comes to lithium ion
Hmm.
technology as we know it. But there's still a lot of things to do. And of course, as you can imagine, we are monitoring that space because we are agnostic to technology. So whenever something new is coming out, something more sustainable, something more powerful, something faster rechargeable, we can jump on it. And I think we are not at the end. So we've just started. I think it was 1991 when Sony launched the first lithium ion battery, and it took a decade longer until the first power tools appeared, and then it took another decade for the first vacuum cleaners and for the first e-bikes and for the first electric cars. So for me, I think we are still at the beginning. I think we'll have to do a lot also on the aftermarket side if we look into circular economy. And if you compare lithium ion to lead acid, so lead acid is 99% is recyclable. Even the plastics and everything is recyclable, which is amazing. And I think we have to go there. I think technology will go its way, so we can expect higher power and higher energy density. And I think we have to look at this from a system point of view. So two things: battery cells is one, where we have to look into the entire product life cycle, so making this more circular. And then we need more companies like Instagrid, not only looking into how good are cells, because this was a trigger point when we started a company, when we saw what was done to cells in the last decade. But these battery cells are a DC source. Yeah. But to turn an engine, you need AC, and you're fed by AC from the grid. So you need an AC in, AC out battery. And this is where we really looked into technology and said, okay, the battery cell technology is probably good where it is, and with the pace that it's developing, it's just great. But the other side, which is power conversion, was lacking far behind. And this is where we saw the sweet spot and where we jumped in. So we are sourcing the same cylindrical cells that Tesla or any power tools company is sourcing. But our take is really into building a system out of that and making sure that energy conversion, be it coming into the battery or going out of the battery, is good and is improved.
Interesting. Yeah. No, so many people are going to be interested in that question and your thoughts on that. There's, as you said, you can't tell the future, and things are changing at such a rapid space currently that, who would have known? But I think coming back to the point about what a good founder, is, as even Bezos said, it's never good to ride the wave when it's hot. It's always good to be behind and catch the wave. And I think what you guys have done, before the wave was hot, you came in, you saw the vision, you had your vision about where this is going, where the space is going. how sustainability and electricity will kind of revolutionize a lot of what's going on, and then you jumped on that even before the wave was hot, and then you rode the wave, right? And I think that's something that the attributes of a good founder is really believing and being able to tell in the future, hey, you know what, I see the problem here, I see the solution, and I want to implement that solution about what I think about where this is going. And of course you were proved right. You got the acquisition offer super early on, and you believed in it so much, you were like, you know what, I'm going to stick to it. So I believe in this so much, and again you were proved
Yeah,
right.
that's
So
right.
really fantastic,
That's right.
really, really. Yeah.
And that's what you usually sell. Yeah, of course. As an honest person, I have to say there's also a lot about being at the right spot, the right time. Yeah, so of course you never get there
Absolutely.
if you don't work hard and if you don't have the right vision. But also sometimes being there at the right time. So I think for what we build up, we needed consumer goods to be in place, so really to make sure that automotive and consumer can give us a stable supply of the microcontrollers that we need, of the semiconductors, of the battery cells. So all of that, even with the same vision, with the same idea, would not have worked 10 years before. It would probably not have worked 5 years before. So we picked the right spot to jump. We
Mhm.
had the vast amount of experience that we soaked up in the corporate, which I'm really grateful, and we were able to apply that again. So if you're like a grad student or just coming out of university, you've never sourced in high volume, high quality, and low prices from a contract manufacturer, this would probably be the part where everything goes wrong. Yeah, and or you would have the need of a yeah of an investor that knows all of that and can contribute more on the operative side. And we never needed that. So because we had all of the competencies that we needed, we just needed to make sure that we hand it over to other people as we
Of
grow.
course, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I believed in you at a very early stage, and I think the reason was that I had heard so much about what's going on in the industry, but also had a bit of industry experience. I knew that it was going to be a successful company, very early on. I definitely, saw the problem, I saw the solution, and where it was going. So I think I was definitely big fan early on as
Yeah, I
well, and you
remember that.
proved me right.
Yeah, this was even pre pre-seed, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was. Yeah, I mean, I knew it was going to work. I mean, the amount of, the space was changing so dramatically, and there was so much longer runway to go that I think there was so many use cases for the product. Turning a little bit about to investors, let's say the investors you chose to work with, just briefly, um, you know, how should a founder pick who he works with? Should it be a strategical investor? Should it be an angel investor? How did it help you guys to manage, getting to where you are?
Yeah, I was just starting to go that route with what you just said, that you were convinced early on that this works because you have been in that industry, and you
Hmm.
knew. I remember the discussions that we had pre-seed. You knew that this is going to fly because you knew batteries and how batteries are built, and that we are doing something that is better than what's available on the market. And I think
Hmm.
this is also what you need to look at. And of course, it always you always have to look into your situation. Yeah, doesn't what do you want to achieve, and how long can you bootstrap? Yeah, so we were bootstrapped for the entire first year because we earned a lot of money at the corporation and we never spent it in a house or something like this.
Hmm.
So we
Hmm.
were able to burn that money, and of course then also have a higher valuation while we went, because we had the traction already, we had the first prototype running, and everything was kind of there and only needed to be industrialized. And I think in seed round we made, although reading all of the books, we made all of the mistakes that you can make. So talking to 30 investors, and the first ones, like the very enthusiastic ones, said, "Hey, this is great. We're going to invest. We give us 2 weeks," and they never called in 2 years, right? So all of that is distracting you from what you should actually do.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so what we learned in seed, and this is my advice to other founders as well, only talk to investors where you have the feeling that they understand your business. So
Hmm.
we would not onboard people that don't know the battery industry, that don't know the energy industry, that don't have an idea of what it means to build hardware. So there were a lot of software VCs that we also talked to, and many of them were interested because if you have scalable hardware, this is really where it becomes sweet. But
Hmm.
nevertheless, we always decided for people that already have a track record in hardware, because hardware, as you know, is incredibly hard. And especially in the times that we have now, and we're looking into supply chains that are breaking down, and harbors in Shanghai, which look like they we would have never expected 2 or 3 years before. You really need people that understand that, and that can bear all of that, because they know, okay, this is how the world goes, this is the new normal, and we have to adopt to that. And I'm only going to ask the guys, so what is your plan, and then I'm going to accept it, and I'm going to give feedback and valuable input. But I'm not going to turn the wheel around by myself. So you really need these investors that trust in you, and that have enough experience to not start talking into your operational part.
Of course, because it is up to the founder. So you think an investor that doesn't get too involved, that understands the space, but also allows the founders to be enough flexible with whatever it be, thoughts on supply chain, or sourcing the materials, to let you guys actually run that. So
Exactly.
that's something that's for all of you out there that are looking, and choosing your investors. I also agree with that. I think someone that does understand the space, but maybe it's not too hands on, that allows you your flexibility. And again, you've obviously with your B round, you've proven that was a good strategy. So that's fantastic. Great. So, Andrea, thank you so much for your time today. I think this is an extremely interesting space. I think it will continue to grow. Congratulations on your Series B. I'm sure we'll be seeing more if there's no more acquisition offers coming up. But I think it will. I'd love to get you on for another one in the short future, when things have developed, and to see how you're getting on. And it's been my pleasure.
Sure, it's been my pleasure as well. Thanks for having me. It's really nice
Thank,
talking to you.
thank you, thank you.